Okay, this is the Habitat public issue triage for the week of, I guess it would be what, June 20th. Yeah, that's right, June 20th. And we've got a lot of things to go through this week. So we'll just kind of dive right in. We're going to start with a query that's been posted that we use every week, but it's posted in general in Slack in case anybody feels like following along. And we're going to start today with 2620. And I guess we'll give everybody a moment to read through this issue, and then we'll talk about it.
Run me ACI. I'm assuming that's something container image.
It is. That's like the that's an alternate container image format for the Docker. It's one of the ones that we support as a post processor.
Cool.
It looks like maybe it's something to do with the latest version, the version of glibc that we rebuilt for sure. I mean, this is a bug without a doubt.
Yeah, I think we should accept it for work.
Yep. And this would be, I guess it would be plan build. And so what we've been trying to do recently when we're triaging issues is also estimate effort. I don't imagine that this is a high level of effort to get this fixed, but it might involve rebuilding several packages.
That's true.
So I mean, this is something that we should probably take on ourselves. And great.
Cool.
Let's move on to 2619.
That is certainly interesting.
Ah, interesting.
I
haven't seen it before.
Yeah, where you can search or you can select the search engine. Yeah, it is pretty neat.
Searching.
Yeah. I might do this one as help wanted if that's not jumping ahead.
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, if somebody wants to write this, I think we would totally accept.
By all means, yeah.
It's just not something that will likely get prioritized on the immediate. So the effort on this is probably going to be a little. I mean, it depends. If you're not used to a person that's used to writing browser plugins, that's hard to say. I don't think it's an issue that we would mentor because it's kind of outside the scope of the project, but it would definitely be a useful tool if somebody wants to write it. So, cool. So we'll label that feature, put it in help wanted.
Cool.
All right. I can move on to 2617. Have package binlink support on Windows. Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer.
Agreed.
Apply type real quick. And so for this one, this is probably something that we would.
I think so.
Do, yeah. This is going to be supervisor work. Actually, it's going to be CLI work, not supervisor work. Could be complicated. Definitely going to be some Rust code. And this is specific to Windows, so we'll go ahead and use the platform tag for this one. Oops. And let's go ahead and assign it to accepted minor. Sweet. Oh, I need to, I must have messed that up there. There we go.
Cool.
All right, 2615. Yep.
I think that sounds quite reasonable.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Easy to do here. We can go ahead and put that in accepted minor. And we'll move on to 2612.
Can you click on? Yeah, let's see what that looks like now.
Ah.
That's cute.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's reasonable.
Yep. I would assume this is probably something we will handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most of the website stuff is stuff that we end up taking care of. So, all right, 2599.
Oh, okay.
I'm confused about what. Add info about new default. Oh. So those are the methods. Those are the actual methods that we call. Sorry, I closed this out here. Those are the actual methods we call in the build context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess
they're saying it's
we
not
search.
on this page.
Well, is it? No, it's not. Look at that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, most definitely. This is something that we should probably have documented. Most of the time, people are not going to use this exposed interface, this API, if you will. The do default builds are really just more or less so that we've got some activity to attempt if you haven't defined something. And they're really pretty tailored towards like the most generic build that you possibly could imagine, which is like make, right? Make, build, or what have you, those kinds of activities. So it's worth documenting, probably. But I think that this is a help wanted thing because I don't know if it's something that we strongly want to expose. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on it?
I'd say help wanted for now.
Okay, we can always come back and switch this over later on. So for now, let's add this as a documentation chore. Easy, and we're good. Move along. 26 or 2590.
Admittedly, this has confused me as well.
Yep. Yeah, I think that this is a good. I think this is good as well. Definitely should should probably go away when you're signed in or something. Should have a different task.
Yep, and I think this one would fall under the easy label.
Yep. Just another chore.
Yep.
Gonna be HTML.
Yep.
We'll put this in accepted minor. I would assume that this is stuff we're gonna do. All right. 2589.
Add recruitment link. Recruitment for what?
I don't know, actually.
Maybe for the UX research thing. Okay.
Okay, so it's adding. Yeah. All right. I mean, I would assume if they've defined it, then.
Right. Yep.
Also, just looks like a simple link. So.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. 2587. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know if it. I mean, it may be valuable to have some comparison page, sort of in a way. Like a good example of this is if you go to the Nomad project, which is HashiCorp's scheduler.
Yep.
They actually have in their. I don't know if it's in their intro. Nomad versus other software, and it'll kind of explain.
They've got that in their Terraform docs too.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is quite useful.
But I don't think that those comparisons should likely be made specifically to package management systems. If only because Habitat is not just a package management system. There are other tools I think out there that we get compared to significantly more frequently.
Yep.
Like people are like, why should I use Habitat instead of Docker? And obviously the answer to that is you should use Habitat with Docker.
I get that one a lot. Or what if I want to use Kubernetes? You can.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that this makes sense, but I think that we may want to request a different issue.
Right.
For comparisons. Let me draft up a comment on that really quickly.
Sounds good.
Think about it. We could probably just modify this issue rather than opening another one. Actually, I'll just modify it right now.
Okay, cool.
And I think this is something, it probably would be, it's not like difficult, but PRs like this are kind of time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to mark it as less easy just because there's a significant amount of time that will be involved
Right.
in research for whoever's going to write this documentation. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. And let's assign that into help wanted for now. And what I'm going to do is actually include David here, who's doing a lot of our technical documentation, so that he's kind of aware of what we've got going on.
Cool.
All right. Great. Sweet. Let me go ahead and refresh here. Let's move on to 2586. Yeah, I don't know if this is something that we need to document, because this is artifacts are a generic term for
Right.
built piece of software, and that's not a concept that's unique to Habitat. That's kind of generally compiling software or building software. I don't know if it would be valuable to actually.
Right. I'm kind of on that one, honestly. It might be nice to link to a separate document or a separate site that defines artifacts.
Yeah, maybe if we just have a little link that's like that bubbles over to something that's kind of a Wikipedia page on software artifacts, something like that.
Yeah, that works for me.
All right, I'll put this in help wanted then, and I'll leave a comment to that effect. All right. 2585. Yeah, let me think about this. Do we have, I want to see what our documentation says on this currently. It's under CLI reference. Hab, studio subcommands. Run a command in a studio. Yeah, this might be worth like a blog post, or it might
I
be.
think so.
Yeah, and actually, this is something that probably should go in the README. Now that I think about it,
Agreed.
Because we definitely want to push people towards, like, part of the whole goal of Habitat is that it was built with CI/CD in mind. And so if we're, the whole interactive studio is very much for testing and figuring out what you're doing. But ideally, you're not running your builds by hand, right? It's just like any other software. Hopefully, you're not building your software by hand. So we should definitely be pushing people more towards that. So I think what we really want here isn't necessarily just it shouldn't stop with documenting Hab Studio Run, because we have an explanation of what that does. We probably want an example of, here's how you would do this in CI. And actually, now that I think about that, we may have this documented and it may just not be exposed in the appropriate way, because I think we have a continuous integration page. Continuous deployment, perhaps. There's pre-artifact and post-artifact. I thought we did. Perhaps we don't. Maybe there was something with Travis. I thought we had a page that kind of covered. No. Okay. Yeah, that's great. All right. I'll leave a comment real quick. I'm going to put this one under accepted minor, because I think for some of the content that we're generating, at least some of the tasks that I have on my board, this might be, I'm marking this as less easy, not because it's not hard, but again, because there's probably some time consumption in this,
Right.
that it's going to be a little more complicated, I think, than just exposing this. I think we kind of need to discuss the reason why that's important.
Yeah, it needs to be socialized. That's
Yes.
the way I like to put it.
Yeah, exactly. So I put that in accepted minor and signed it Dave Reed. Dave, if you end up watching this video, it's not because I expect you to do this work. I just figured you want eyes on some of this stuff. So, all right, sweet. Config.log. Currently, where is this file and how to open it? So the config.log is the supervisor log. I don't actually know what this is in context to.
That would be my guess, because obviously there's logs for each individual Habitat service that you're running.
Right.
So where do we generate that error is my question.
That's a good question. The soup log. Soup log command is what pulls that up, right?
I think so, yeah.
But I don't know if this is the same file, if he's referring to the same file.
Right. I would maybe ask him where is he seeing that error?
Yeah.
So we can make sure we're correcting it in the right place.
All right. I'm going to leave that again as chore, easy, but I'm not going to put it into a bucket just yet. Not until we get response on what that's in reference to.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this is something that we should dive into either.
That's my immediate reaction. That honestly is there be dragons. What was the? Can you click on 2561 one more time? What was that?
Yeah. So 2561 was a question about
Okay.
how to do software patches.
Right.
So in like package build or other build systems out there,
Oh, gotcha.
there's a concept of software patching, and we support software patching the same way they do.
Right.
Which is the way it's dependent upon the underlying type of code you're compiling and what the patching process looks like for that software.
Right.
So the only problem with this is we would end up needing to go down the path of documenting how to do software patches for every language that Habitat supports, which right now is most languages.
Right.
Or at least a lot.
My idea would maybe to document it somewhere, saying if you want to patch your software, refer to the language of that software, and then maybe give a couple of examples.
Yeah. Yep. I think so. There's another thing here that's wrapped up in this as well, which is at least for the core plans, we have some examples. So we could at least share those examples in some kind of doc. I don't know where that would go or what that would look like. I think that we try to keep our packages as vanilla to the upstream release as possible, which is a different way of handling packages than other distros. Because other distros end up having to patch to solve for their own kind of subset of packages.
Right.
Because of the way we build, things are a little bit different frequently. We haven't seen as many cases where we actually need to run patches like this. That doesn't mean they haven't existed, because they totally have.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll leave a note
Cool.
on this. Okay, yeah, 1 second. I just realized also I should have actually been tracking all of these issues in so that I can update the forums. So I'll go back and get that in a moment. Give me 1 second here.
No problem.
I'm thinking this will be another help wanted. I do intend to
Mhm.
come through these help wanted documentation bugs as I've got free time and finish as many of them as reasonable.
Gotcha.
But I'll also just add Dave Reed on these since this
Cool.
is kind of his purview. Okay, that was 2583. We're gonna move on to 2581. 1 second here. Okay.
Mm. I agree. There's definitely a need for more documentation on this.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of documentation on the studio. It's just not in the concepts section. The concepts
Right.
section are
Oh.
all pretty much just a single
Yep. Yep. That makes sense.
blurb. Well, that's not true, actually. It looks like that
Okay.
that doesn't hold true anymore. It used to, but you can look at least scaffolding bare minimum has quite a bit of information.
Right. Right.
Um, So yeah, I think that if this is the path we're going under, now I don't want to go so far as to uh, suggest one workflow over another personally,
Mhm.
if only because things like this is a great example. This is something that we've kind of talked about in the community a lot, and tried to figure out what the appropriate way of handling this is. So if you're compiling a new piece of software and the dependencies you need don't exist, then you end up needing to compile more than one habitat package, which is not a big deal.
Mhm.
But in order to find, to be able to have access to that library without uploading it to the depot, you do have to do this thing where you enter your studio at the root of a directory that has access to
Right.
all the plans. Now, if you're building software in CI or you're building your own software in CI, you would never do this way, right? So it's important that we kind of expose both of these. And I think these are going to be. I think this might be a really useful place for this documentation to go on this concepts page.
Yep. I noticed David Reed added a label to that 5 days ago.
Yeah. Huh. Huh. I don't know what's happening there. It's not popping up. It's okay.
Do you mean for your mic to be unmuted?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not popping up. Huh.
Oh, that is weird.
That's all right. We'll come
Did he
back to it.
delete his GitHub account? No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks like nobody. I mean, I even tried.
Oh, it's not for anyone. Oh, that's weird.
I'm not sure what the deal is. I'll just refresh real quick here.
Yep.
There we go. All right, let's go ahead and move on to 2580.
How to use an exported tarball. What? Oh, okay, good. There is something there. It'd be a reasonable thing to document. You'd also need to install Habitat on whatever system you're trying to unpack that tarball on and install it on.
So I don't know. I think that we might actually, I'm trying to remember with this export type, do we not package the HAB binary up as part of that process?
I don't know on that actually.
We probably don't, but
Right.
yeah, this is a good thing. I think this is another good thing.
Yeah. Anything we can do to showcase more of Habitat with and without containers, I think would be quite helpful.
Yeah, and I mean that last one, 2580, that kind of goes also dips down into the realm of like if you're deploying a tarball,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time you probably have some workflow, but you're
Yeah.
really going to want to know like what exists inside that tarball. Is it just a heart file? Is it just so if we can expose any of that, that's probably good. So let's move on to 2579. Uh,
Uh,
I don't
okay.
know. This is something.
That that is dependent on the operating system that the user would be using.
Yep, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's most Linux is going to follow this pattern, but that's a
Right.
Linuxism and not a
Yeah.
Habitat thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have.
Quick examples. If you're on a Linux system, do this. If you're on a Windows system, do this.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
The easier we can make it, the better. So I'll put it in help wanted.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, 25.
Did you put Doe for Windows?
Oh, I did.
That's funny. No, it's fine. It's just funny. I've never seen that before. Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?
We do have information on this.
Mm-hmm.
So by default, this gets set. So when you do a have plan init command right now, that's going to get populated based on, it's not going to be set to core, right? This is just an example of a plan. By default, what happens is if you run have plan init to start a new habitat package, it's going to check to see if you have run have setup. And if you have, what ends up happening is that we actually populate this with the value of hab origin, which is set by that hab setup command.
Right.
And the tutorial also goes through how to use custom origins. And we also have documentation on origins that's separate from this kind of creating plans docs. So I think most of the time that's going to be under plan syntax. But also the tutorial covers it as well. And it's got it right here. So I think for this one, we probably can close this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to double check this one more time to make sure I'm not crazy because I don't want to close this out. But so with this one, we're using an example of a core plan that's depending on other core plans. And so what we've got it might be good to actually just add a note in this paragraph here that core, in this case, refers to the origin.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully if you read through this, you can see the package origin shows core, and then it should be kind of clear that we're referring to origins in these. But it doesn't hurt, I think, to maybe add a little note.
Agreed.
Obviously, writing a plan, we definitely go through the process of walking you through running hab setup, which will get your origin set. And then that also walks you through Hab Plan Init, which will do the same as far as defining your origin in your plan. And I think we've got other documentation elsewhere, but I do think it might be valuable to just add a note here. And you know what we should probably do is add a link to the file.
Oh, that would be quite helpful.
I think we put in docs, create packages. Yep. Oh, wait, no, this isn't it. So we do have the whole, we've got a lot of documentation on origins, unfortunately. So it might be this create plans. Yeah, here it is. Copy that. All right. Perfect. Okay. 2577. Actually, 1 second here. I want to make sure that was the right thing. Yeah. 2577.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yep. Good.
$25.56.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, it could be. I think so you don't actually have to pass the path to the plan is the only thing here.
Oh, gotcha.
You just have to pass the name of the directory that has the plan down inside of it. So like if you have the example, I'll just go back to Nomad. I've been working on a Nomad package. If I'm in a directory with a bunch of other directories, all I have to do is say build Nomad, and it will go down into, it automatically traverses down into that directory. Now, if you were up above that directory, and say you had one dir that opened onto 50 dirs, and each of those were, packages, or each of those contained plans for packages, then you would have to define 2 directory paths, right? So you do build foo bar, or build foo baz, or build foo far, right? So, Yeah, I don't think this is a bad idea. I don't know if we traverse them all or what that would look like implementation wise, but I don't know that it matters all that much. At least not initially. Yeah, okay. So this is going to be CLI behavior. I think this would be an easy one. It's going to be some Rust code. And I'll put this in help wanted. And we're putting that in help wanted because I don't know that this is a feature that will get prioritized currently over some of the other stuff we have in flight. So, all right, 2551. This to me is a no-brainer, to be honest. And this has actually already been triaged. I think this should, or I think maybe I labeled it. It hasn't been triaged per se. I think that this should go into help wanted, but I also think this could be a really good one to do a mentorship with, because you would end up, yeah, right. Like there's a lot of stuff happening here for a PR like this. That would be kind of a fun pull request because you'd get into the supervisor code. You'd need to get into some of the CLI code. That could be a really fun one. So I'll put that in help wanted, and if any folks feel like digging into this, this could be a really cool feature. I'm gonna leave a comment real quick. Okay, so this is an RFC.
Just a quick FYI, I'm going to have to drop off in about 2 minutes here for another meeting.
Yeah, no problem. I don't think we're going to get to this today anyways because it's a little dense. This is one that I wrote that it would be good to get some comments on. So if you have time to go back and check it out, that would be good. I've been trying to get other folks to look at it as well. I don't know what the appropriate thing is here or whether or not it's even valuable, but this actually came out of a conversation with Matthias as well. So cool. So that's going to be it for this week's triage, I think.
Yep. Cool.
Got through a bunch there.
Yeah. Thank you for leading it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we'll see everybody next week.
See you then. Take care, everyone.